Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Bet Legends. Today we have someone we're super fond of, really big in the game right now. We have Danny Brasco. Thank you, Danny, for joining us.
Yo, thank you guys for having me. Absolute pleasure. I've known you guys since, way back. We even ran into each other in a New York City coffee shop, before we even knew that each other lived in the city. So that was really cool. I'm happy to be with you guys, and always a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. That was a great moment. It was funny how, not everyone's able to pick each other out, but we're people that show face. So, we did like a double take at each other and it's like, that's Brasco. So I was like,
I was like, Beau? Boom, now we're here.
Beautiful moment. But yeah, man, thank you for being here.
Brasco, thanks for coming on. Pumped to have you. I know it's been a minute. We've been going back and forth in the DMs trying to get this set up. So finally happy to have you here. Just give us a little lowdown on what you got going on. I know you're with the game day now. You were doing pick profit stuff beforehand. So kind of just give us an update on your life, what you got going on and anything like that.
Yeah, man. Well, appreciate you giving me the time to chat with everyone here. I'm a sports bettor. I'm not going to call myself the GOAT or, the best pro in the game, but I'm pretty damn good. And I've learned a lot over 5 years of betting. I went to go work as sort of the content creator and a sports handicapper as well at Pick Profit. Had some nice time there. I learned a lot from a pro sports bettor that I worked under, taught me a lot about the game, about the industry, about strategy. And then I took that and brought that over to the game day where I'm now a host for them. But I feel like I've gotten really sharp in the last year. I've learned a lot of the tricks and trades, the classic pitfalls that, the average bettor might fall into. And of course, we all win, we all lose. But the point is to just have really sound strategy. And over the course of just being in the sports betting industry, immersing myself with everyone, from pro sports bettors to, shows like this where, people are soaking up knowledge. All I'm trying to do is be a sponge. So even for the pros, you best be learning every day. And that's something I've been happy to do and proudly can say I've done. And I'm doing pretty well, hosting some content and making some money. So I'm happy to be here and keeping it rolling, baby.
And just to kind of start off, I know obviously you live in New York City now. Are you from New York? Kind of a little bit of your background. How'd you get into betting exactly?
Yeah, born and raised New York City here, totally city gremlin. Sometimes I joke that I'm so New York, it's a damn shame. I need to get out of here. But I obviously love this place. And yeah, how did I get into betting? Of course, I've got the DGen bone in my body. It just exists. It's in my DNA. But, I think at a certain point, I've just been a sports fanatic since I was 4 years old. I was the kid reading the baseball almanac, telling you the first 15 home run leaders of all time. When I was, in my kindergarten class, telling my teacher that Jimmy Fox was 5th in all-time home runs. He's like, who's Jimmy Fox? You're supposed to be finger painting, So I've always been hyper into sports. And, eventually I met a bookie around my way, obviously the sketchy way, and a friend of a friend. And all of a sudden I'm throwing a couple hundred on the games. We developed that into where we are today. Now it's legal. And with a touch of a button, I can bet to my heart's desire. So here we are.
Yeah. What do you think about all this new, almost news coming out about betting legalized in New York now, getting, books put in stadiums, things of that nature? Just what's kind of your take on it? You're kind of excited to see where it's going? Are you nervous at all? You think so many newcomers coming in and a lot of promotion around you're able to make money quick, and maybe that's not the truth always, but what are your thoughts?
That's not the truth at all, right? The get rich quick scheme is the easiest way to lose in this game. And it's the easiest, it's the shiniest, flashiest object too. Oh my God, I can bet today and make money in the minute after the game ends. I could be richer in 2 hours. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is this is a science, and even the best people at it mess up all the time. And it's an inexact science too. So I think the legalization and proliferation of all of it is awesome, because now people like myself in New York have access to much better books and more regulated books, which is good. I don't want to have to use the offshore stuff that I'm wondering, is my Bitcoin payment going to go through? When do I get my check? Why don't they offer these lines? Why don't I have these options to bet on? It's because they're not fully legitimate sports books. They're operating under a gray area of legality. Now I have the option to bet on all sorts of great things. So I can find better lines. I have 7 different books now. I can line shop like I've never line shopped. For people that aren't familiar, line shopping is going to different books and trying to find the best line. If there's an underdog that's plus 120 on DraftKings, but it's plus 150 on FanDuel, I'm going to bet it on FanDuel, right? I just gained $30. So you can do things like that. And the legalization has really helped sharp bettors get even sharper. The thing is, we're going to see like a lot of weird, funky stuff go down in the industry, whether it's regulation, clamping down on people that are winning too much. Remember, books are private businesses. They can just say, no mas, you can't bet with us anymore. You're winning too much of our money. They have that right. There's all sorts of stuff written in that fine print that me or you are not reading. Best believe the average person isn't reading it either. And at any moment, you may be entitled to $1 million. They can just say, nah, you're not allowed. We changed the rules. So don't be surprised if there's some big lawsuits, if there's all sorts of crazy action you see around the industry, maybe some cheating scandals that get exposed, but also a lot more regulation in the industry because now it's legal everywhere. So it's going to be a wild time in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. Remember, all states aren't even legal yet. So I'm happy about it because I think I've become a much better since it has been legalized. But man, we're going to see some wild stuff. Watch for the crazy storylines and scandals. Best believe it's going to happen.
Absolutely. And personally, being in New York as well, I think I've gotten a lot better since it's become legal. Just the ability to be able to bet on certain things that you're not able to on those offshore, and being able to shop all those different lines on all these different books. It's like, you're able to just get so much sharper. And I just wanted to ask you about, shifting gears a little bit, some recent news. So Calvin Ridley, what are your thoughts on that betting situation? This is something we haven't been able to talk on yet on the show, but I'd love to hear your take on that. It's definitely something that's, betting pages are joking about it. Some people are making very serious points in his defense. I'd just love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I feel like I can do a combination of both because I do have a serious take on it, but it's also like, oh my goodness, this is outrageous, right? Yeah. Look, I don't care about the amount of money he bet. I don't care. I guess it matters that Calvin Ridley got caught betting on his own team. He wasn't fading the Falcons. He bet on the Falcons. So that's one aspect. You can say, well, he wasn't running out of bounds or falling down on purpose to make them lose. He actually bet on his team to win. Much like Pete Rose claims, I never bet on the Reds to lose. I always bet on my team to win. So that's nice. And in this day and age, the receipts are there and we can see, no, he's telling the truth. Of course, if you're in the sport, you shouldn't be allowed to bet on it. It's just not good. If I work at Sprint, I usually can't, trade. If I'm a CEO at Sprint, I can't do certain things with the stock at Sprint or maybe I can. Actually, that's the exact point I'm going to make. Senators, businessmen, corporations, they insider trade on information that they get all the time. What is the difference between them making boatloads of money and Calvin Ridley putting up $1,500 on himself to win? You know what I mean? Like, what is really the difference? So, of course, I'm extrapolating and making a much bigger point. But the fact of the matter is, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, tried to pay Brian Flores $100K to lose games, and he's still under investigation. If he doesn't lose his team, if he's not banned forever as an owner, then Calvin Ridley needs to play week 1 of the NFL because that's not equivalent. You need to set the precedent, right? So if Stephen Ross can pay $100K and Brian Flores can turn it down, it comes to light he was trying to pay to tank. But Calvin, if he ends up being the owner of the Dolphins next year and Calvin Ridley is suspended for the whole year, not equivalent. Bullshit. And the NFL is a ton of bullshit. Roger Goodell is a joke of a commissioner anyway. So I'm not breaking that news to you. So that's my take on Ridley. I don't think it's that egregious. No, it shouldn't be allowed, but he also shouldn't miss the year based on, look, there are guys getting 4 weeks for domestic violence. You're going to tell me trying to make some money is worse than beating your girl? Nah, I'm not with that at all. The NFL needs to change the priorities. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you on that. I think it almost ties into this where we're seeing the betting industry going, where you're getting slapped with FanDuel, DraftKings ads all over the place now. It's so easy to get on your phone, depending on where you're at, and place a bet. We're back in like the Pete Rose era. That was not the case. You couldn't do that. That's why it was kind of looked at back then as like, wow, that's bad. You shouldn't be doing that. But to give Calvin Ridley a 1-year suspension for going on FanDuel, DraftKings on his phone and doing a $1,500 bet, it's like, really, like you said, we've had people do way worse in the NFL and get way less penalties, I guess you could say.
Dude, guys are on trial for murder. Whether they did, right, like they're involved in all sorts of really heinous crimes. Whether they did them, they're a party to them, whatever it is. People have lost their careers over smoking weed, over betting $1,500. The NFL needs to change its priorities because it's just ruining careers that should not be ruined, and it's not equivalent. They need to set the precedent in a much better way.
Absolutely. Like you think of a guy like Josh Gordon, he's missed out on years from really having an addiction problem. It stems from him being in middle school, getting into things, and that carried on throughout his life, people enabling him. And he finally gets to a point where he's held accountable. And it's like, let's punish this guy way less than somebody who beats their fiance or their wife. And, that's just something that's needed to change for a long time in the NFL.
And, weed is legal in so many states now, just like gambling. So, people are being released from prison for this. So what are we looking at, now retroactively? You feel like a bozo for making this guy lose 3 years of his career over something that now people can sell for profit as a above board business. Like, don't you look like a jerk for having done that to this guy? The answer is yes, Goodell. The answer is yes. I'm not a Roger Goodell fan. We'll talk about baseball later if you guys want. I am not a Rob Manfred fan. The only commissioner in sports, I don't really watch too much hockey. I do like Adam Silver. I'm an Adam Silver guy. But the other two, bozos.
If we can, we'll just stay on the topic of NFL real quick. We're recording this. It's Sunday, March 13th. This will be out later this week. But breaking news right before we started recording this is Tom Brady coming out of retirement. I bashed my head against the wall. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this just the greatest marketing scheme we've ever seen? Or like,
yes,
what the fuck is going on? I'm pissed. I'm a Jets fan. So I'm like, he's not with the Pats anymore, but I'm like, God damn, I don't want to see this guy in the league anymore. I was so pumped when he retired. What are your guys' thoughts on this? This is, I don't know. It's classic Tom Brady. We could probably see it coming from a mile away, but the Bucs odds just went from like 25-1 to 7-1 again. It's just, someone must have had a ticket, when Tom Brady wasn't on the Bucs, that now they're looking at it like, yes, let's go. What are your thoughts on this?
Imagine the person who was like, Brady just retired. Yeah, I'll bet the Bucs to win the Super Bowl. Like, that's a crazy ticket. But you're screaming with joy right now. You said it, Kyle. The greatest marketing scheme ever. This is so Brady. This is what Brady does. And I think everyone kind of knew. Like, he never said, a few people made this point. Maybe it was Ryan Clark on ESPN. He never said the words, I'm retired. Like, someone on ESPN made this point. And I was like, that's interesting. I'm not going to put too much stock because ESPN got to think of a new random thing to say for 12 hours every day. But he was like, he never said the words, I'm retired. And you see footage of him. He was at a Manchester United game, and he's chatting with Ronaldo after the game. Two goats just chatting it up. And Ronaldo says to him, and you can hear it audibly, he says, so you're done? And Brady goes, he just gives him that, I don't know, man. So there it was right there. He was never going to retire. It's all part of the press game that he plays. And one more year with freaking Tom. Look, I'm a Giants fan. I know you're a Jets fan, so you're forever a Tom hater. I'm a Giants fan. I'm a Tom hater too. And my rallying cry to everyone who's a huge Tom Brady fan, you're 0-2 against my Giants in the Super Bowl where it matters most. 18-1. 18-1. Beau, Tom Brady's back. Why?
Man, it hurts. And growing up a Patriots fan, It makes complete sense. Dude, growing up in New York and my family all being in Massachusetts, you get used to it. But the big thing that I took away was the way they lost. And that's not the way that guy's career is ending. A play where many teams don't get that done. You put Cooper Kupp in single coverage. What do you expect is going to happen? The field goal wins the game. Tom Brady losing in the wild card round to end his career just doesn't sound right to me. And every time people would talk to him after that announcement, it was almost like like with Ronaldo, he's it's he still got that inside of him. He still got the drive. He still has the ability to play. There's to me, it was a no-brainer. I was telling people he's just looking to see what's happening around him right now, where people are going, see where he aligns best. But I'm looking forward to seeing him play again. I know as a Patriots fan, it's a bit tough to see him in Tampa, but I still do enjoy watching him play. He's an all-time player, so not surprised.
Bro, New York guy as a Patriots fan, this has made my stomach turn, bro.
It's painful, man. It's tough. I can't turn it off though. When I was little, I was like, what if I was just a Giants fan? I was like, nah, then my family wouldn't like me too much.
You know what? I respect you for that. When you were little, you had that thought. When you were just a child, an innocent child, and you still knew this is what loyalty is. You stick with your team. Hey, anyone that's trying to switch teams, whatever team, I'm a Knicks fan. You think I don't want to switch teams? You're not allowed. You're a fan of a team. You stay with them and you suffer with them, or you live through the joys and the glory. You're not allowed to change. It is what it is. If you do, you're fraudulent.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Loyalty is everything in this.
That's Max Kellerman. He has a take. He says, if your team hasn't won for 20 years, if you go 2 decades with no championships, you can change teams.
Kyle, you got time, man. You got like 4 decades. You got 4 decades, bro.
Hot take, Kyle. Joe Namath might be the most overrated quarterback of all time.
I could agree with you on that. I love the man. I think his story is incredible.
Story's great.
But, he's up there just because it's the only time the Jets have ever won. So.
And it's the only time someone guaranteed a Super Bowl in the paper beforehand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So story's amazing. But yeah, the guy, you look at his stats, you're like, he's in the Hall of Fame, really?
He put up like under like 140 passing yards in that game. Like
defense won the game. Yeah.
Let's we got a few more sports to talk about. I know you're a UFC guy. We had a big fight last weekend. Beau's big in the UFC too. I'm starting to get into it just because Beau's got me like reeled in. And it's been, fun to
watch.
Beau, you're doing the Lord's work. Every time I introduce someone to UFC, it makes me so happy when I make a new MMA fan out of someone. It's just the best.
I realize like the joy you get in watching, and then like all these guys have their own story. Some of them are training together. It's like, oh, he's a Muay Thai guy, he's a kickboxer. Then like telling them how this matchup's going to be like something bigger than people are expecting. So it's really a sport. It's a beautiful sport, man.
It's such a beautiful, aside from betting on it and the actual fight itself, the stories are great. These stories of fighters are so epic. These guys, have come from backgrounds and places and get to the point where they've used the violence to make a career in such a way that it's like, it's violently beautiful, if that makes any sense at all. Maybe I sound crazy, but like their stories are so cool. So I love the sport for the people in it and the beauty of mixed martial arts.
Absolutely. And you've been killing it on your plays, man. I saw you had the moonshot last night.
Cracked the moonshot. Look, everyone's like super hyped. Brasco, the UFC GOAT. I'm very good at betting UFC. I don't hit moonshot parlays every day. I don't hit plus 4,000 parlays every day. However, when it does happen, you go out to dinner. You go reap the rewards. And I'm very excited. The last 3-4 weeks in UFC have been fantastic. The cards feel like, when you're feeling good, whether it's in baseball, basketball, football, whatever you're betting, UFC for me particularly, when you're in a groove, the names and the lines just jump off the page. It's not even like I'm working that. Like I just see it, I research it, I spend my time, and it just is making sense. So when you're in one of those grooves, whatever sport it is, you just keep striking while the iron's hot.
Absolutely, man. And I want to ask you, I want to know who, like obviously the title fights of recently have been sensational. In the year 2022, where do you see some title changes?
Oh, I love this question. Light heavyweight. It's the worst division in the UFC. And I love Glover Teixeira, who's the light heavyweight champion. He's such a good guy, such a humble dude. East Coast guy, lives in Connecticut. He's like, I train in Danbury. He's always talking about Danbury. I'm like, my cousin lives there. But he's such a cool guy. I love Glover. But he's like a 40-year-old champion, right? 41-year-old champion. Light heavyweight is fairly weak, and it's got some strong contenders at the top, and nobody really else behind the top 5. So there's one of a few guys I think could take the belt in light heavyweight. I'm really high on Alexander Rakic. I like him a lot. And of course, I'm most high on Jiří Procházka, this guy that is the modern day European samurai and is an absolute crazy person. He trains in the forest punching oak trees. This guy is nuts. He's so skilled. I say Jiří becomes future light heavyweight champ, and it won't take too long. It's going to happen soon.
His kicks are sensational, man.
Oh, vicious. You hear him kick someone. Oh, you're just like, dude, I boxed a little bit, not professionally, just for fun and a little amateur. I spar some people, try to have fun, get in shape, and learn a thing or two about fighting. There's a saying in boxing. You get punched in the face, you want revenge. You want to get it back. You get punched in the body, you want to go home. Jiří body kicks make you want to poop in your pants and go home.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where you definitely want to turn on to watch him. And one guy I wanted to ask you about, I've been big on him for a little while now. How are you feeling about Hamzat becoming the
Hamzat!
champion?
How am I feeling about Hamzat? How am I feeling about Hamzat?
Let's go.
How am I feeling about Hamzat? This is like one, I'm not like a card guy, but I saw someone selling cards and I was like, I just need one. I watched his first fight ever. I watch every UFC card. I love this shit, right? I watched his first fight in the UFC against a guy named John Phillips. Not a good fighter. John Phillips is a trash can, right? He's not a good fighter. He abused this man in a way that made me afraid. I was like, what? Stop. I was stop doing that to him. He could not one moment, not 1 millisecond of the fight did he lose a positional advantage or a striking it. Everything he did was beautiful to me. Again, I say he wasn't fighting the best opponent, but I watched that fight and this Chechenian guy, I got a Russian man from Chechnya with the lip scar, his whole vibe, his look. I said to myself, I'm not kidding. I said to myself, holy shit, this guy's going to be the champion one day. And I bought a card. I was trying to buy like signed shorts or like signed gloves or like something, like something. I couldn't find any Hamzat gear. I literally couldn't find where to buy it. I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, oh, Hamzat, I'm a huge fan. I want to buy a pair of gloves. He never hit me back, obviously, because why would he, right? He's got fights to fight. Here he is. If there's a challenger to Usman at welterweight, it's Hamzat.
No, absolutely. And I've been telling people, oh, you think he's really going to beat Usman? I'm like, yes.
He can do it.
Yes,
When those odds come out, I'll be fascinated because I bet you that Usman opens as a small favorite. Normally Usman is a minus 400, minus 500. He'll be like a minus 150, something like that.
Plus money on Hamzat would be, oh my God.
It's almost like you can't. Hamzat won't be the favorite because Usman has been the pound for pound best fighter in the UFC for like a while now. Like pound for pound best. That doesn't mean best in your weight class. That means the best fighter in the game, pound for pound, right? So he'd have to be the favorite, I think, based on that. But it won't be large. It'll be like, I think he'll be like a minus 150. And Hamzat will be like plus 120. And we'll all be salivating to bet Hamzat. Dude, I love this guy. I love this guy. We need to see him in like a longer fight. We haven't seen that yet. Wherever the fights go, he just fucking dominates them immediately and puts you in his world. We need to see him face adversity. I want to see him get rocked. I want to see him get taken down. I want to see him, I need to see how he responds to something not going his way. Because you got to think eventually it's going to happen. So that's the only thing we haven't seen. There's so much hype. It's all well-deserved. And he's proven. He's not unproven. He's beating good opponents now. We just haven't seen him go through anything. So that's the only question that remains. But I'm very high on Hamzat Chimaev. I couldn't be higher on anybody in the UFC. He is that dude.
He's only been touched twice too. It's incredible,
struck.
man.
He's been struck twice. Like a jab, a leg. He's been struck twice. That's retarded. That's retarded.
Well, I'll say I love the UFC talk. Brasco, I've seen all your picks on there, just like Beau mentioned. I've tailed a few, just, I'm always making money off your picks. Beau's always texting me fight night like, yo, these are the locks. This is what you got to put in. The other weekend I had Greg Hardy and I was like, send it to Beau. I'm like, is this a lock? And he's like, no, Greg Hardy's done round 1. I was like, no, come on. Next thing I know, Greg Hardy's getting kicked out of the UFC. So I'm like, shit.
Look, honestly, I like movie stars, singers, rappers, whoever, athletes. You respect the athlete, you respect the actor, but then they have their own personal life, right? And those things bleed into each other. It's the person you're watching. I have no respect for Greg Hardy after what I read about what he did to that poor woman. Awful, heinous crimes. Like some things, I wish I could forgive better, but I just can't. I don't forget, I don't respect you ever anymore. So maybe it's wrong with me, but I root for him to fail. And hopefully he can change to be a better person and not treat people like that. But I don't want to see him win the UFC. And watching Sergey Spivak get top control and beat the shit out of him is one of my favorite things in the world. So the fact that I didn't even know he was cut. You just broke that news to me. I'm thrilled. I told everyone, Greg Hardy's not a good fighter. He has 1 round of cardio and he has a right hand. There's nothing else. If he gets taken down, the fight's over. And it's exactly what happened. You're a smart man, Beau. Well done.
Shout out to Beau for giving me the news beforehand, but I didn't follow along. But Now I know. Now I know to listen to you guys.
Dude, I'm so happy that he got cut. That's amazing. Fucking go fucking, dude, go get me a coffee, Greg Hardy. You're my bitch now.
Definitely more deserving guys than him out there.
Hell yeah. Dude, Greg Hardy, I said milk. There's no milk. Send it back.
Why is this cold?
Why is this cold, Greg? Thrown in his face. Again. Make it again. Go make me some copies too. Fucking go dance and make those people laugh. Dude. Also tie your shoes together and trip. Fucking bozo.
Let's switch gears a bit. I know you mentioned talking MLB. MLB looks like they just came to an agreement here, and we got some new rules. We got the designated hitter. We got 12 playoff teams. We got some other things on the board, but MLB is finally going to start. We got the league, start date pushed back a little bit, but I miss betting on MLB. I miss watching MLB. What are your kind of your thoughts about everything MLB? Where do you see the league this year? Do you think any of these changes are going to be significant, or what's your take?
Definitely, man. I'm actually, people may not know this, but baseball is my favorite sport. I love baseball. It's the sport I played growing up. I coach the little league in my community here. I'm the director of the league. I run it, and I coach my own team of like 12 to 15-year-olds. So it's just, I just love the sport for what it teaches. Baseball is life to me. Baseball is a perfect metaphor for life. Like in Moneyball and all these great baseball movies, the quote is like, how can you not be romantic about baseball, right? Like Kevin Costner and Brad Pitt. That's the base. And other people say it about, how can you not be romantic about football? Nah, it's a baseball quote. Baseball is just it's a sport of beauty. It just is. I don't know how to put it into words other than it's a perfect metaphor for life. Now I'm getting all sappy and emotional. Let's talk about the season itself. Thank God it's back, because I love betting on baseball. I do it all the time. I will say it's a pretty hard sport to handicap. Lines are pretty sharp in baseball. You need to be on your shit. You need to really have good statistical information. You can't go on hunches in baseball. It's not going to work out for you. A site I really recommend people use is called Baseball Savant. It is a very in-depth, advanced analytics type of site where you can find, beyond the numbers, beyond who scores the most and who strikes the most guys out. You got to look deeper than that. Check out Baseball Savant. If you're going to bet on baseball, you can find some really great analytics. That's a tip for people betting on baseball. Now, how do I feel about the new rules? Well, first of all, I said it before, Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner in all of sports. He's a joke. I can't believe he's not fired. The only reason he's not fired is probably because he's the owner's bitch boy. Like he does what Greg Hardy does for me, getting me coffees and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like he's the owner's errand boy. That's the best way to say it. Rob Manfred is the owner's errand boy. He just does their dirty work. So this whole lockout has been it's just shameful. When three guys like us who are passionate about the sport and we just want to watch some ball games are waiting to watch because millionaires and billionaires are arguing over hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. It's like, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for caring. Also, they're setting the sport back. NBA and NFL are leapfrogging baseball. They are lapping them. UFC is exploding now. I would have no doubt that UFC will surpass baseball in viewership. It could very well happen in the next few years, So it's not helping grow the game to a younger, newer audience by, having this lockout. Okay, we're past the lockout, the season's coming. Well, let's appeal to a younger, newer audience. Let's speed the game up. Let's ban the shift. Interesting. Because the shift is a sound defensive strategy. Yes, it takes offense away. It's kind of boring. But if I'm a manager and you just ban the shift, I know I can get some of the best power hitters out if I just put 5 guys on the right side of the field and he's going to pull it to my second baseman in shallow right field. So, do I want to see less offense in the game? No, I like home runs just like the rest of us. I'm a red-blooded American. But do I want you to just ban a great strategy? No, that's unfair too. So I wish they would have made shifts like coaches' challenges. Like you can use 3 a game. Oh, Shohei Ohtani's up. Everyone to the right side. Oh, this, Vlad Jr.'s up. Everyone to the left side. Whoever it might be, those classic pull hitters. Whatever you want to do, shift it, but you can use 3, 2, whatever they want to make it. Instead, they just did away with it. I'm like, that's kind of cheap. What I do like is the pitch clock. I do like the pitch clock. They're going to time pitchers so you can't just sit on the mound for 5 minutes looking at the basic, shaking off signs, resetting, putting the chalk on your hands, reset, splitter, no, fastball, no. Come on, throw the pitch already. Okay, I get that. However, there's going to be some ugly moments. How do I call it? Some bumps and bruises along the way. The pitch clock cannot like speed up a guy with the bases loaded and like 2 outs in a 3-2 count. The pitch clock cannot make him like, just get one over, right? That would be fucked up. That's bad for the game. So I'm going to end my rant soon, I promise. But I guess what I'm saying is I like some of the implementations to try to speed up the game, to create more offense, to make it more with more pace, a more watchable pace, because that's everyone's main complaint. I just can't watch it. It's too long. So make a better pace to it. Pitch clock, shift ban, other things like that. I get what they're getting at, but they should do it in a way that doesn't compromise the integrity of baseball. That's my whole point. I'm an old timer, right? I'm like, I love those, some of the unwritten rules and the baseball, classic, just what's the word I'm looking for? Traditions. But some of them are ingrained in, bad traditions. Some of them are ingrained in racism, and they need to change a lot of them. So, I'm a fan of progressing the game to make it more fun to watch. But, I'm also not a fan of changing it so that it doesn't compromise the original integrity of the game. There's my take.
No, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with that. The pitch count is definitely something that is needed. Obviously it's not meant to, throw it, man. You got to throw it before you run out of time.
Yeah, go.
Like a last second. It's not a last second buzzer beater, but you have time. But one thing I really do love is the expanded playoffs. That's something that I've always felt about baseball being such a long season, and then to come down to, to just a game. And then there's not that many teams left in it already as it is. I just feel like, there's more teams that could get in that totally can make some noise. As fans, we'd love to see more playoff games as well. So that's something I was definitely happy to see, it being 12 teams now.
Yeah, I like that too. It's better for more teams can get in the playoffs. It's better for fans around the league, right? More clubs have a shot at playing in the playoffs. That means more fan bases are interested in the game. It means more people are coming to the games and interested in the teams that, right? Who's tuning into a Diamondbacks game on a Wednesday? Well, maybe me and Beau and Kyle, because we're betting on it, but maybe not the average fan. So it's good to make more teams have a shot to get into meaningful games. That's going to be better for the game. I totally agree.
I think you made a good point earlier too, just about how the MLB and baseball in general is just, I think for the past few years, maybe longer, it's just been on this huge decline of viewership, people really wanting to tune in or be a part of the sport. And I get these, negotiations are part of that, trying to bring the sport back up. The big thing they have going for them right now, and pretty much the only thing, is just the big names in baseball. These people who everyone knows who they are: Mike Trout, Max Scherzer, all the big names, the big batters that come up. And I don't know. I think you're right. When this season, some of these rules are a lot different than what we're used to, and it might not be the best for the game. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think you made a good point that just MLB in general is just on the decline when all these other sports are finding ways to elevate, be bigger in these smaller markets. Whereas, like you said, Diamondbacks, these small cities that have, can't fill stadiums. It's sad to see. And, I hope baseball and MLB can kind of turn it around. And this hopefully is the start of it, but I'm sure there's going to be more negotiations to come.
Yeah, man, they're getting lapped by the other sports. And who do we have to point to again? I'm going to hammer this home. Rob Manfred, worst commissioner in sports.
Absolutely. And I saw you outside the office last week on your Instagram. So shout out to you. Boots on the ground.
Straight up, trying to do the activist work. So I saw the Barstool guys all out there, Jerry, Frank the Tank, and Jerry the Kid, and all those guys. They were like 10 blocks away from me. I was eating lunch. I was like, oh shit, they're literally they must have posted it hours before, because I was like, let me finish my lunch and go and see if they're there. I would love to link with those guys. I got there, they weren't there, but I was trying to protest outside the MLB office, on the lockout, and they had just left. But yeah, man, I'm for the cause, and it was hilarious what they were doing.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Part of the reason we wanted to have you on the show in general is just because you become such a big name just on social media and what you do for game day and what you used to do for Pick Profit. We, and I think others definitely consider you almost a legend. And I know maybe you don't consider yourself that. I hope you do, but we think you're a legend in this kind of space. You make some good bets, you put out some good information. If you can kind of, like we talked about earlier, just these new people coming in, just betting in general, getting so big. And it's really not where you can just make money quick, where a lot of people are getting that, almost stuck on that notion where, man, I can bet $5 and win a couple hundred, and then $5 all of a sudden turns into oh no, I'm betting hundreds and I'm losing every time I bet. What kind of recommendations do you give to people just kind of getting into it? And, where do you see betting really going from here with everything, just getting bigger by the day, it seems like?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate the kind words, man. I'm very honored for you to say that about me. I've been trying to pave a path here, and I've learned a lot over the last few years. And that's my main advice: is be a sponge. But the caveat to that is you have to soak up the right information. There's a lot of white noise out there. And that is the hardest thing. That's probably the hardest thing to do in gambling, is to cut out the white noise. What information doesn't help? What information is not helping me handicap this game? So, a line is set. The Knicks need to win by -3, whatever it might be. You need to cut out all the, yo, he's so good. You can't. All right, let me make this a more succinct point or cohesive. You don't bet on teams because they're good. We know that teams are good. Every game you're betting in a vacuum. You're betting, is this in this game, in this spot here, can I win this game by whatever amount of points or whatever it is that you're betting? Can I win this game? So you need to be able to cut out all the things that don't matter. And that's really hard to do when people are like, yo, LeBron is nice. Nah, he's going to get crushed. That's not an angle. That's just an opinion, right? So you have to look into many different lanes of information. One of those lanes is statistics. Go look up the recent history of the teams. Go look at their shooting numbers. Go look at their defensive numbers, advanced analytics, what have you. Go do the math. Go look at stats and say, which team has a statistical advantage in some categories in this matchup that makes me think they're going to have the edge and win. That's one angle. Then you have to look at the betting market. What's the betting market doing? Is everyone on one side? Is everyone on the other side? Is the money kind of even? Is there a lot of debate about this game? Are there questions? Are people betting the spread or the money line? Where did money come in? Did the line move? Why did it move that way? Why are they now 3-point favorites? They were 2-point favorites before. You need to answer it's just like a stock. You don't just buy a stock at a random time. You sit, you watch the company, you think about the news, new products they're going to make, and you buy at the right time. And then you sell it when you think it's going to go down. You have to play the gambling market a very similar way. People, in fact, play it a lot of the time just like that. They don't even care about the players or the stats or the guys on the field. They're literally playing numbers where they think it's 2.5 now, buy it. It's 3.5 now, sell it. It's back to 3, buy it again. They're just playing math. So a lot of the time, the people on the court, the field, what have you, it actually doesn't matter. And that might be a little disheartening to hear. But the game is about math more so than knowing who can hit the ball further or throw it faster. You know what I'm saying? So my advice is multi-pronged. Let me break it down in a snackable way. Be a sponge. Soak up as much information as you possibly can. Go everywhere. Learn everything. Listen to handicappers. Listen to another handicapper. Read an article. Go to a YouTube page. Look up stuff. Use Google. Too many people ask me, yo, Brasco, how does it? Bro, I just send them, let me Google that for you. You ever seen that? I just send them a link to let me Google. You could have typed that into Google and found out before waiting 3 hours to get a response from me. So be a sponge. Be active in your search for information. You can't know that the Bulls are good, so they're going to win. That's not enough. Go research your bets. Put in work, right? Then the second thing is know what you're in it for. Are you trying to make this a side hustle? Do you think you can make real income from betting? Are you trying to make it a living? Or is this entertainment? Because for 99% of people, it should be purely entertainment. Maybe you can make some money entertaining yourself, but don't trick yourself into thinking that you win a couple bets and you can quit your job and make this your life. You know what I mean? I hit a plus 4,000 parlay last night. Am I going to stop working? Am I going to stop looking for opportunities to get work? Absolutely not. Right? It doesn't stop. So don't think because you hit a couple bets, you're the GOAT, right? This is a long game. You can't just flip it overnight and become an overnight success. So that's number 2. And yeah, man, look out for the pitfalls. Don't fall into the easy traps, the teams that look the shiny objects, the obvious plays. Think to yourself, when you're so sure about something happening, ask yourself, wait, why is it too good to be true? So yeah, it's really hard to encapsulate all of it in one, but be a sponge, soak up that information, be critical of the people and the sources you hear. Take it upon yourself to know, why you're in the game, what you're doing it for, entertainment or profit, and, bet what you can afford to lose. bet an amount of money that if you lost it immediately, it impacts your life in no way, shape, or form. You better be able to pay your rent, buy your next meal, pay your, buy your girl whatever she needs, get your kid his school supplies, whatever it is. Do not bet money that compromises that. Okay. Those are my main pieces of advice.
Absolutely. I love that. I think a lot of people definitely appreciate that. A lot of definitely newcomers coming into the game. I wanted to also ask you, and I as cappers, I know we all kind of get these weird feelings inside as if everything I know, everything I've read and read up on is telling me this, but for some reason I feel like the bet is going this way. Do you ever have those moments where you go against the numbers and go with your gut?
Totally. I call those the eye test games, where I say to myself, and I've said it a few times on game day shows I've done, where I've said, you know what, I'm going to ignore the gambling market and play the side that says is not the right play. When you look at a certain, when you do this long enough and you look at what the gambling market says, where the money is and where the money's moving, where the line has moved, you look at where the statistics are, and you dive into the game, and when you do your normal handicapping process, the result tells you, damn, it's this side. But you're watching the games, you're familiar with the teams, and this ain't it. This ain't it. I don't care what the stats say. Like this, in this spot, maybe there's a revenge angle. Maybe there's a storyline that you're missing. Maybe there's a player, who wants to get back at an old coach on another team, and so he's extra motivated. There's all sorts of little wrinkles here that you can play. And a lot of the time, I'll give you an example. Like this season, the Patriots played the Panthers in a game, and a lot of sharp money randomly was all over the Panthers. And the Patriots, I believe, were -3.5 favorites, so they had to win by 4 to win the bet. Those lines in the NFL are kind of sketchy sometimes, because if you win by a field goal, you actually lose the bet. I need to win by more than a field goal. So, I was like, dude, the Patriots are going to dominate them in this game. But all of the signs, the sharp money, the big money, the late money, the line move, all said Panthers. I said to myself, Sam Darnold is their quarterback. They're playing this Patriots defense who just got Stephon Gilmore back, who is absolutely dominating good teams. I have no idea how Sam Darnold scores on this team. This line is wrong, and the gambling market's wrong. And the Panthers win that game 25-6, something like that. I can't remember the final score, but I never even blinked at that game. So look, I look like a genius for going on this spiel, but I've also lost games that I've done the eye test on, and well, in fact, the gambling market is right. So the point is, that's what I said before. It's not an exact science. It comes down to you need to make the call on yourself, and you need to decide what you put the most weight onto. Is it the gambling market? Is it the statistical edge that you can find? Is it your hunch? Is it what your buddy said? Is it who you think is hot? Or is it just, I got a feeling, the hunch? And sometimes the eye test beats what the market and the stats say. So that's why gambling is so hard. If a computer could do it, we'd all be rich and we'd all just be doing what the computer does. But the computer can't. So here we are, humans making decisions.
I think you made some great points, and I think a lot of what you mentioned, and what a lot of people know, that they need to do this research. They need to look into this. That this isn't easy. It might look easy, and when you compare it to the stock market, it's almost like sports betting is very instantaneous. It's like you can see your wins or losses almost immediately. Where stock market's like long-term game for the most part. And I think this is just following up to a question I want to ask you. Is just, people get lazy. They don't want to do this research. They don't want to look into this shit. They just give me the winner. They know there's people out there like you, me, Beau, who are doing this kind of research on a daily basis. That's why they pay for picks, and people are out here making pages and saying, I'm the best, I'm better than this guy, that guy. What's kind of your take on the whole social media aspect of this? There's a lot of, we've had this conversation with a few other peoples where there's scammers out here on the market who maybe they have the lock of the year and it's like a -400 play. And it's like, people pay for that. And it's like, do you see a lot of these scammers? What's kind of your take? And, Beau and I talk with a lot of real people in the industry. We think you're one of them for sure. And, what's kind of your take on where this is going from here? There's like a good side and a bad side almost.
Yeah, better be warned, because there's a lot of people selling pick packages that don't know a damn thing about sports betting, that cannot say any of the things that any of us have said on this podcast here, because they're not familiar with how the game works. I mean, there's tricks of the trade. You learn stuff over time. it took me 3 years of losing as like a complete novice. I lost every year for 3 years before I started getting good at all. And then I realized, holy shit, I haven't been learning. I always say you're either winning, you're learning, or you're just losing. A lot of these handicappers are not even learning. They're just losing. And their marketing is better than their skill or their service. So look, it's really easy to make a max play. Everyone's got a max play every day, a whale play. I started making these like joke plays. Like I bet on Marvin Vettori in the UFC. Beau knows Marvin Vettori. I had a huge bet on him in his last fight against Paulo Costa. I bet, he fought Izzy after, but against Costa in that big fight, I made it like I had a really big bet on him. So to make fun of all these cappers that do these, funny, marketing schemes, I was like, oh, he's my 5-unit Mambo Italiano play. Like it's just we're just making up names, we're just saying stuff. But I go on a tangent there. The point is that there's a lot of guys that are going to claim to be the best of the best, and they don't know a thing. They really don't know how this works. So ask around, ask a friend who's good. Like I'm not against paying for picks, because some people, like you said, Kyle, if you're an average person that really does want to make money off this, like you're not going to have the time to in between, your lunch break or whatever shifts at work, quickly do this research. The three of us are doing it. We spend hours every day in front of our computers and our apps, and I'm on the go, and I'm on the train, I'm refreshing, checking like you got to put in time to get it right. It doesn't just happen. So if you want to profit, just like you would pay a financial advisor to manage your stocks, or pay someone else, to manage, whatever it might be, pay for a handicapping service, do it, but stick with one person. If you try to jump to the flavor of the week or wherever's hottest, you're going to end up jumping from lily pad to lily pad, and each one is going to sink underneath you because you're not going to be following any one thing. The point I'm making is long term. If you want to buy into someone's service, stick with them long term. Anything can happen in one day, 1 week, or even a month. Try someone out for a good deal of time. Maybe they'll make you, 90 days. Give them a fiscal quarter. And if that fiscal quarter, they don't return you the percentage that you wanted, then drop them, But treat it professionally. Don't treat it like, curse and scream. Don't curse and scream at the guy for losing one pick, right? If you want to make money, then be in the game. So, people, if they want to get involved in that, they just need to have a business mindset. Do I think I'm going to make $100,000 for my stocks return tomorrow? Absolutely not. But if I make 12% on the year, my guy did a great job and he gets his cut. Treat it the same. Treat it the same.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad you said that, because I think so many people, and we've experienced this, somebody will buy a package months ago, come back, hey, can I get a day? Hey, can I get a week? Maybe you have an average week and they're gone when they get back. We've had that experience with multiple people where it's just like, they're trying all the different Kool-Aid, seeing which one's going to do the best. And at the end of the day, they're not really formulating any of their own opinions. They're not learning, like you said.
And that is the best point. That is the best point. Because even if you're going to pay for someone, I don't just blindly throw money around and expect to get money back. If I pay for something, I want to know what I'm paying for. So that's what you can be paying for. If you buy into KV Betting Service, ask them questions, learn about why they're betting. They have a play. You like the play, right? Like listen to go on the lives, watch their shows, soak up the information, be a sponge, because you can do it too. You can. I'm not that smart. I'm really not. I just decided to learn and spend time. And that's really what it takes. So yeah, I think more than anything, people got to change their attitude. Can you blame them though, Beau? Can you blame them? Like the next guy on Instagram is screaming he's the best and he's won 10 picks in a row. And it's the truth. He has won 10 picks in a row. But guess what? Math says he's probably going to lose the 11th. You know what I mean? So everyone wants to jump on the hot streak, but you're already late to the party. Point is, stick with one person, formulate a strategy, think about your investment, treat it like an investment. How much money do I have to put down? How much do I want to make my goal to gain? How much can I afford to lose? And how am I going to employ a strategy to make this happen? If you're not doing that, you're just throwing money into the air, and you shouldn't expect anything more.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing we see it as more of a long-term game where you kind of almost view it in the same stock market the same way. This is long-term. We might make a good amount of money one day. We might lose the next day. You're going to have winning days, losing days. It's part of the game. It's what it is. And I think the worst part of it is, Beau, I'm not sure if you saw this message come through. We had someone message us the other day. I won't say any names, but we had someone message us to just say, I'm like down so badly. I'm in so much debt on my credit cards. I want to pay off these bills. Like, give me a lock.
Oh,
Like,
no,
and
no,
we
bro.
honor
Go,
it.
dude, head to the fucking unemployment office. Head to your local spot that can give you a quick gig or something. That's just the word. And I don't respond to those, to be honest. I get those too. I don't respond to them because that's toxic. That is not how you reshape your life in one day. I can't be liable for someone who, you know, is like, yo, I need to buy baby food today. Please give me a lock. I'm so sorry, bro. Like, I'd sooner just give you $50 out of my pocket than give you a gamble to make. You know what I mean? If you were like, yo, and I knew you a little bit, maybe I'm acquainted. I'm like, yo, I'm down bad, bro. Like, I don't think we're gonna get dinner tonight. I'd buy you dinner, but I wouldn't give you a gamble to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the sad part of the industry when we see those messages come through and you feel bad. It's like, man, I see where you're at. I get it. But like you said, we don't want to be liable for this. As much as we say we're experts and we might think we're experts, there's no guarantee in sports betting. There's no such thing as a lock, first of all.
Dude, the experts in this game win at a 65% rate. And that's really good. That's very good. So that means you're losing more than a third of the time. You're an expert.
Yeah, we had the same conversation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Brian from Pano Pick, but you know, he saw this the same way where people, especially these newcomers, they come in and they say, man, you're only hitting at like a 55% rate. Like, you know, if it was a test, you'd be failing the test. Where there's these scammers out there who are like, man, I'm hitting 90% of my bets. I'm doing this and that. People are going to, you know, gravitate towards that because they're like, hey, you're getting an A or a B on the sports betting tests, quote unquote. And, you know, when we see those messages come through of like, man, I need money, I need a lock tonight. It's like, man, this is a long-term game. You can shoot that message around all these other pages if you want and see what they say. But we kind of see it for what it is. We might make some money tonight. We might lose. There's no such thing as a lock, and that's just what it is. This is the game you play. And if you want to be in it, you have to know that.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Couldn't agree more. And, you know, people that are chasing that, you know, one hitter to change your life. I really sincerely hope it happens for you, but you got to change your mindset because it's an easier way to end up broke than rich.
I think it's just a lot of people lacking patience. You know, like we've said, it's not a get rich quick thing. You know, they're not willing to see it out past a week. Some of these people, it seems like tonight's the night. I'm blowing it all. I'm making all my money tonight. Let's go. What do you got? And, you know, we've had people get, you know, I wouldn't say people have been pissed at us, but people have definitely been like, oh, like losing night, boys. Like, come on, let's pick it up. It's like,
fine.
Okay. It's like,
yeah.
Are we supposed to be upset?
And you know what? If I lost and you paid for my package and you're like, damn, tough night, you know, or losing night, let's pick it up. That's okay. If I made you like a bad pizza at a pizza shop I worked at and you're like, yeah, this pizza isn't very good, I'd be like, sorry, I'll do better next time. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to be upset about the service, but you know, like it's a gamble. You're paying for a gamble. So don't expect anything like, you know, you're paying for people that are good at it, but be ready to lose. This is what happens. And Kyle, you mentioned before people talking about 90%. I hit 90% of my bets. I made this point recently on my story. I don't care what your record is as a gambler. What lines are you playing? Because I'm 100,000-0 at minus 2,000 money lines, right? I've never lost. You know what? I've never played one. But if you bet crazy stuff like that, yeah, I'm undefeated of all time. However, if you're betting plus money, minus 110, even odds, and you have a good, and you're hitting 58%, right? If your average odds are at a spot where that makes it profitable, then you're a winner. So that's what people don't understand. I don't care if you're 90-2 or 58-1. What lines are you playing? Because 58-1 could be break even. If you bet 58 minus 7,000 money lines and then lost one, right? Right. There was an NBA stat that was if you bet double-digit money line underdogs in the NBA since 2016, your record would be 177 and 963. And guess what? You would have made $12,000. You went 177 and 963 on double-digit money line dogs, but because the money line was so big on those underdogs that even hitting at like whatever rate that is, like 11%. You made money. That's the point. Records don't matter. Lines matter. And that's what you should look for in handicappers.
That's a crazy stat. That's crazy to even think about. We have a lot of people message us and be like, "What's your record?" This and that. And it's like,
Who cares?
Exactly. It's like, why does it matter? I mean, like, to a degree, it does matter, but what matters is what you're betting on and
what is your profit margin? How many units are you up? We could talk units too. That's a strategy thing that I did not mention. Bankroll management. I know people don't want to hear about that, which is a problem too. People don't want to hear the boring stuff, but bankroll management is more important than winning bets, in my opinion, right? If you can manage your money, then you can win more money. If you can't do that, you're never going to win.
Yeah, I think betting in general is still just in this weird kind of place where people haven't got that through their head yet. They don't understand it. They might see it. We can tell them this all they want, and they're still going to be like, "What's the lock tonight? I need to make some money tonight."
It just keeps happening, bro. I'm just screaming at people like, no one's listening. Kyle, nobody's listening. And they just keep messaging me, Brasco, what's the lock? I'm like, I just told you, don't message me that. They're not listening.
So speaking of which, I know you mentioned it before. You hit a 4,000 plus 4,000 parlay. That's pretty crazy in itself. And one thing we like to do on the show is just talk about crazy betting stories in general. If you've had any big wins, big losses, we were talking a little bit before we started recording just about how the losses might be more memorable than the wins. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. Do you have anything crazy that, has just stuck with you since you've been in this, or anything just fun in general?
Well, I can give you fun, and I can give you sadness and depression and despair. Fun, more recently, I've definitely hit some big bets in the past, but I, sort of remember what's recency bias, what happened, very, very recently. And that was the Super Bowl. I had a massive bet on the Rams. It was actually the biggest bet of my life. And I feel really smart about it because I preached to everyone all week, Rams lock, Rams lock. Well, holy shit, that was a close game. But what I did was the line was moving a bunch, 4, 4.5, 4, 3.5. I saw it go to 3.5. I screamed from the mountaintops, everyone buy a point to 2.5. Now, if the Super Bowl comes down to a field goal, and I know the Rams are going to win, but if they win by a field goal, we win the bet. Not with the 3.5, you don't win it where the line closed, or at the 4 where it closed, right? So in my pocket, I had a massive bet on the minus 2.5. Sure enough, they win by the field goal. The point that I bought was the difference, and I cash huge. So that was great. And that moves into the UFC this, the past month. The last 4 cards have been just unbelievable. More specifically, the last 2. And I can't, I'm sure I've hit big parlays in the past, but plus 4,000, 135, it feels pretty good. So I'm really happy about this year so far since the Super Bowl. I've just been rolling. Even when I lose, the next day I bounce back strong. So of course there are losing days mixed in there, but it's been really good. Now, good with the bad, right? Rain with the shine. I lost a ton of money on a really juiced money line, and I never forgive myself. It was one of the worst bets I've ever made, and I have never forgiven myself. My favorite boxer is Vasily Lomachenko. Huge Lomachenko fan. He's phenomenal. He's awesome. I watch technique videos of him. I love what he does. He fought Teofimo Lopez for the lightweight belt. He was coming off shoulder surgery, and everything was supposed to be fine. He definitely tore a ligament in his shoulder in that fight, and he couldn't throw a jab. You notice he was barely throwing his jab. Loma is a jab. If you look up in Merriam-Webster dictionary, you'll see next to jab a picture of Vasily Lomachenko. He couldn't fight his fight. And Teofimo Lopez fought the best fighter. He fought perfectly. Like, I was wildly impressed. And Loma loses a decision. I bet like huge on him in parlays, straight, props by decision. I lost like probably $5,000 plus on him. I lost my ass on that. And looking at it in retrospect, he was such a big favorite. There was no real value there. I fanboyed in that one, and I made a bad bet. And I can look at myself. I'm the first person to jump on a story when I make a bad bet and be like, that was a bad bet. Or I tell people all the time, you can win a bad bet and you can lose a good bet. You need to be able to reflect on, was that the play? Regardless, the result does not always determine if you made the right bet. You can win a bad bet and you can lose a good bet. In this case, I just lost a bad bet and I deserve to lose. So that's my worst one, but it's all good. I've made that and way more back, even in just this year. But yeah, that one I'll remember that one longer than I remember the win. And it just sucks that we hold the losses closer to our heart more than the wins. This is horrible human nature.
Is the bad beat, that parlay where the last leg always seems to fail. It's 100% the losses that you remember more. We have those wins where it's like, oh yeah, I remember I took him by knockout, or yeah, I remember I had the over or whatever. Went big on that, but it's really those losses where it's could have had money.
Just could have, would have, should have. And you just mentioned the last leg of the parlay. Well, something I just don't let people that follow me do is lose on last legs of parlays now. Because what can you do, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legs hit. You're about to win a lot of money, and the last leg loses. It always happens to me. Guess what? You can bet the other side and guarantee yourself money. So 1, 2, 3, 4 legs hit. One more has to hit, and you're going to win $1,000, let's call it. You're like, oh my God, I'm about to win $1,000. Well, guess what? Go put $500 on the other side, and you can guarantee yourself $500. Or go put $200 on the other side and get your money back, maybe make a little more than you would have made, and risk the rest of it. Go decide. It's called a hedge. Go decide how much you want to make sure you win, and then ride the rest. You could play it so that no matter what, you make the maximum profit, whether it's 500, whatever it might be, right? Or you can have fun with it and ride most of it. But what you can guarantee yourself is to at least get the bet you put down back. So hedge the last leg of your parlays, people. That's how you win money.
I think that's another thing people struggle with. I know I struggle with it sometimes. I remember back on this NFL season, I had some crazy 10-team parlay. I had everything right through the 1 o'clock games. I was texting Beau. I'm like, just need the Broncos to win. They're playing the Raiders.
Fucking Broncos.
Beau was even hedge on
Hedge.
I was like, this just makes too much sense. The Broncos are going to win. Looked at halftime, they were up. I was like, we're good. We're coming out with
that's exactly when you should have hedged. They're up at halftime. I can get the Raiders at even better plus money. Ugh.
It was brutal. Yeah. Lost on that, but
you live and you learn. You're learning, right? You're either winning, you're learning, or you're just losing. You learned.
Exactly. That's all you can do.
It's happened to me too, brother.
The last thing I want to bring up, and it's kind of just that time of year, March Madness. I don't know if you are making a bracket, putting some brackets together. I'm usually pretty excited to make a bracket. I guess I am still excited, except I've lost my last 10 college basketball bets. So I'm like, what the fuck do I even know? But what do you think about this? Is a tournament coming up, and where do you see it kind of playing out?
I used to make brackets, I used to do Yahoo ones, and fantasy stuff. I give up, dude. I mean, it's just I'm never gonna come close to any of the winning brackets, and especially this year, dude. It feels like this year there's 15 teams you could pull out of a hat that could all win this thing. There's no clear-cut front runner, not even a top 5, I would say. You know what I mean? It's up for grabs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sprinkle some dark horses, and my motto here, and it's the motto. Defense wins championships. I'm not going to go for the high-flying offenses like Iowa, Purdue, the shooters, I'm going to go for the guys who can get a stop whenever they want to, and the coaches just have them so dialed in on those zone defenses, they just suffocate the life out of you. 3 teams that I believe do that very well are Tennessee, Texas Tech, and Arkansas. Now, do I think any 3 of them are going to win? Probably not, to be honest. It's going to be someone else, and I'm going to be wrong. So these are not go put the farm on these bets, guys watching right now. These are sprinkles. I'm putting small bets on huge odds. Tennessee and Arkansas plus 5,000, and those are very good teams. Texas Tech will be even more. I have Texas Tech to make the Final Four at plus 550 just because I love the way they play defense. Their offense is non-existent, but I love the way they play defense. So I'm going to bet on great defensive teams, older teams with a lot of seniors, teams with a lot of guys who can lead the huddle and just man up and be like, yo, let's go get a bucket. Yo, let's go get a stop right now. On me, together. And, the well-coached, cohesive defensive teams. You saw Tennessee today. They looked fantastic, right? I'm big on them. So I'm going to bet on teams like that. Those are 3 that I'm going to sprinkle for sure. I would love to hear what you guys are interested in sprinkling, who to go the whole way to make the Final Four, because I'm all ears. I want as many opinions as I can get on this.
I love I'm so glad you said Arkansas, because I've watched them, and their style of basketball is tough. They play tough.
Gritty.
And you get into these March Madness games, and obviously we've seen moments where not too often, obviously, a 15 going down, a 14 going down, 13, and so on. It's really the matchup that is brought to the game. Whether it's, they're going against a smaller team, but defensively, they are much better. So it's really finding those certain matchups. Honestly, a team that I like to win is number 14 Yale, coming out with that first opening day win. I always like to find
to win the first game.
Not the tournament, not the tournament.
This is juice. So yeah, you know what? Yale's been good to me, man. A bet that I've been playing a lot in this tournament in really close games is teams on FanDuel. You can find this teams to win by 1 to 10. It's called win margin. And you can bet that a team like a favorite, say they're -3.5, maybe you think, will they cover the spread? I don't know. But I think they'll win in a fairly close game. You can bet the 1 to 10 winning margin. It's usually plus money. It's been great for me, and Yale has cashed every bet I put on them from the 1 to 10 margin.
Yale, Purdue.
Oh, boy, they got Purdue. Oof. Off a loss? They got Purdue off a loss. That's tough, bro.
It's tough. It's tough. But honestly, a game, a one that I think is more likely is one of the best against the spread teams in the country, New Mexico State, number 12, beating Connecticut, number 5.
You like them to beat UConn. A lot of people are pretty high on UConn in this tournament.
I mean, I understand, but this is almost kind of a hunch thing. I've bet on New Mexico State kind of throughout the year. They've kind of not let me down at any moment, so I'm going to ride with them for that first round. But overall in the tournament, and like you said, it's so tough to ride with the team. I think riding with Gonzaga is not the best idea based on the odds as well. I think they're a team that can get beat. I'd have to say, a team like Villanova, I wouldn't be shocked.
Dude, there's so many of these really top tier seeds can get beat. Like, there's no one that I'm confident enough to be like they could take them. Duke got beat. Kentucky got beat. Baylor got beat. Kansas has looked bad sometimes. Zaga can get beat. Auburn has looked very vulnerable away from their home floor. Like, a lot of these the best, I'm seeing them fold at some point. So I do like a dark horse. And a dark horse doesn't have to be a 14 seed to win the whole thing. No. It can be like a 4 seed like Tennessee. I'm pretty high on Tennessee. That's my favorite pick. That'll be my official pick to make the Final Four and to win the Natty. Tennessee Volunteers.
I like it. I like Tennessee. I'm glad you brought up Arkansas, both you guys. I love Arkansas as well. They've been a little up and down as of late, but I think, when it comes to the tournament, they're always pretty solid. I remember last year, they were pretty decent. One of my favorite teams this year is Arizona. I think they just locked down the Pac-12.
Yeah.
They're solid. They've looked good as of late, and I think they can hold their worth. I think they're going in as a 1 seed. So
they should be. They should be. That's one I failed to mention. And you know what? Of all the top dogs, they're one I actually am confident in. They have a very complete team, and they've showed it throughout the season. That being down and coming back to beating UCLA, they weren't like deeply down, but they worked through adversity in that game, and they've shown that they're like a mature team. I like Zona a lot. I think out of the top dogs, if you want to put your money on more of like a chalky favorite, they're one that could be viable option for you.
Should be good how it all plays out. I'm excited, even though, like I said, I've been ice cold when it comes to betting on college basketball as of late. I'm just banging my head against my keyboard every day, like, what are these options? How am I?
I'm telling everybody, do not put your whole bankroll on March. It gets wild. Play it smart, play it small. If it's not working out for you, readjust. Like, these games are not. This is not like the prime spot to exploit the books. You see buzzer beater threes from half court, bank shots, like. That's winning and losing bets for people. So, you might be on the good side, you might be on the bad side. Kyle, it goes like that. I went 3-0 on plus money plays in college the other day, all those winning margins. Today, 0-3 on win margins. So that's how it goes.
I've just been watching it being like, I just need baseball to come back. Brasco, we appreciate you coming on. I know started out, you're with the game day now. What you got going on there? Kind of tell us what's going on with the game day. It seems like we see you in the studio all the time there, and you're putting on all these shows. We love tuning in. So just kind of give us a heads up on what's going on there.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thanks for watching always. And I love what you guys are doing here. This has been really fun. This is one of my more favorite interviews I've ever done. Just like good, real talk about sports betting that a lot of people are, missing out on or not covering. So this is good work you guys are doing. I hope people are listening and learning. Game day, I'm a host for them. I do a bunch of their, IG lives for their game day hoops, their NFL. I was an analyst for their NFL betting show. More recently, I was in the studio doing a really cool show called The Betting Royale. We did a live betting competition for the NFL playoffs. I was the host, and we had 4 guests all live betting on the game with a bankroll and, trying to outbet the other during the Chiefs-Bengals game and end with the highest bankroll. So it was a really cool, like, innovative game show circled around live betting. I feel like we were the first people to do that. So I was like really proud to be a host of a great idea like that. I'm really excited to be working with them, hoping to do more and more. And obviously I'm just also growing my own page on Brasco Bets, where you guys can follow me, where I post everything. And I'm a little more hyper focused on betting on my page and, making the plays. And, but I also put out all sorts of content of just me being silly old me. And yeah, man, so I've just been having a lot of fun growing my page, meeting a lot of people in the industry, learning, talking to people like you, connecting, and got fortunate enough to work with the Game Day and do some really cool shows with them now too. So just onward and upward. Hopefully TV's next.
But appreciate you coming on Bet Legendz today, Brasco. It's been a lot of fun having you on. Another episode. Thank you from Kyle and I. Please give a follow to KB Bets as well. Bet Legendz, Brasco Bets, the Game Day. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you guys so much. Awesome show. Keep up the good work. And if you ever want me back, I'm more than happy to rant and rave with y'all about sports betting and all the crazy shit in it.
Yo, YBH.